The Rock is your dad. I mean, maybe not biologically, but he's had a part in raising you. And raising me, and raising all of us. Think about how long this man has been present in our lives, at the very forefront of the public's consciousness. Personally speaking, I don't think there's been more than a handful of days where Dwayne Johnson hasn't popped into my head in one way or another since, 1996. That's a long time, and he's done so in a number of different fields and mediums as well. I'm not even a die-hard fan of the guy, he's just unavoidable. He's a mainstay in our collective social consciousness and has influenced us as people more than we could possibly imagine. He's been there every step of the way as we've matured and grown up. All things considered, The Rock has raised us. Look, I'm a 30-year-old male who grew up as a big wrestling fan. Since his debut in 1996, I can probably count on one hand the amount of days where I didn't catch a glimpse of him, see him on some kind of screen, read an article about him, or at least scroll past a post about him on social media. In order to truly understand the magnitude in which this man is ingrained into our minds, let's start at the very beginning. The Miami Hurricanes of the University of Miami were one of the most dominant teams in college football history, with a flair and a style of their own. Before any college football fans get all snarky in the comments, I'll say that they're still a very good football team. But back in the 90s, there was just something different about the team. They had a swagger to them that no other team had. They were rough and tough and full of charisma, and they backed up every syllable of their trash talking with actions on the field. They were dominant and they knew it, and a massive part of their success in the first half of the 1990s was due in part to their star defensive tackle. Of course, I'm talking about future NFL superstar Warren Sapp. But the other defensive tackle was a pretty cool guy too, a guy named Dwayne Johnson. In 1991, the team went on to win the national championship. I was just a teeny tiny baby at the time, but little did I know that this championship-winning roster would feature a man who'd stick with me for the rest of my life. And no, I'm not talking about Warren Sapp this time.
Warren Sapp is a hungry man.
Although I did meet him once and he was lovely. Anyway, DJ graduated in 1995 and went on to sign with the Calgary Stampeders in the Canadian Football League. Again, I didn't realize it at the time, nor was I really paying attention to the CFL as a kid, but little did I know that The Rock would be coming to town to play my hometown Montreal Alouettes. Following a lackluster football career, Dwayne's career took a massive turn. He got into the wrestling business, just like his father and his grandfather before him. He took the name Rocky Maivia, after his dad Rocky Johnson and his grandfather High Chief Peter Maivia. He was the WWE's first ever third-generation superstar and made an instant splash as soon as he hit the scene in 1996. Actually, I should rephrase that. He kinda sucked when he hit the scene in 1996. He sucked so bad, audiences around the globe would chant, Rocky sucks, everywhere that he went. That's because he started out as this wholesome, clean-cut babyface. He was too squeaky clean, there was no grit, there was no personality, nothing likable about the persona. Over time, he developed an attitude, and The Rock was born. That's when things really took off. From 1997 until probably 2004, he was one of the biggest stars in the business, and as a result, became a household name. He main evented the most bought pay-per-view worldwide in WWE history, the most bought pay-per-view domestically, the highest rated episode of Raw, the highest rated episode of SmackDown, and was part of the highest rated segment in WWE history. His match against Shane McMahon on May 1st, 2000 registered a 9.1 TV rating, making it the most watched professional wrestling match of this millennium. Heck, even WWE's flagship show, SmackDown, which debuted in 1999 and is television's second longest running weekly episodic program in history, was derived from one of his classic catchphrases. Everybody knows The Rock lays the smackdown. In 2007, the term SmackDown even made it into the Merriam-Webster dictionary. As a young wrestling fan, The Rock was never really my guy, but he was undeniably one of the company's biggest stars. I was always more of a Stone Cold Steve Austin guy myself. But then, at the age of 13 or 14, I grew out of watching wrestling. I said goodbye to Stone Cold and goodbye to seeing grown men willingly slam themselves through breakaway tables. I figured that I was saying goodbye to The Rock as well, but that could not have been more wrong. That's when he started popping up in everyday, regular culture. He was a wrestling guy. What was he doing on That 70s Show? He had no business there. And why am I suddenly hearing him on Songs with Wyclef Jean? That doesn't make any sense. For all intents and purposes, The Rock became the first pro wrestler to break the shackles of being typecast as simply a big, bulky pro wrestler and actually became a mainstream celebrity. In fact, his autobiography in the year 2000, titled The Rock Says, debuted as #1 on the New York Times bestseller list and remained on top of that list for several weeks. Personally, the most important mainstream moment came when he hosted Saturday Night Live in the year 2000. I had always been a huge comedy fan, and here was this guy coming from a completely separate world that I also loved, and they were suddenly colliding together. That was a big freaking deal, and even Dwayne himself credits that SNL appearance as the reason he started getting movie offers from Hollywood. He showed off just how talented a performer he could be, and as a result, has been back to host the show 4 more times since then. That's about the time when he started doing big-time Hollywood movies, and it did not take him long at all to work his way up the ranks in that arena as well. He probably moved up to the top of the movie industry just as fast as he moved up to the top of the wrestling industry. It started in the year 2001 with a supporting role in the movie The Mummy Returns. That was followed up the next year with an even larger role in The Scorpion King. Then, in 2003, he co-starred in the action comedy The Rundown with Seann William Scott, or as you probably know him, Stifler. That was followed up in 2004 with the release of Walking Tall, his first real legitimate lead role. He got to show off his acting chops the next year in 2005's Be Cool, playing something other than a rugged tough guy. Then the doors just flew completely off the hinges. He starred in Gridiron Gang, Southland Tales, The Game Plan, Get Smart, and a slew of other titles over the coming months. He could play a silly comedic role or an imposing badass role, which made him such a valuable asset in these films. By 2008, the former Miami Hurricane and WWE champion was a full-fledged movie star. As if dominating the movie industry wasn't enough, in 2013, The Rock decided to take over television as well. Just when it felt like you couldn't go to a movie theater without seeing that big lovable smile of his, you suddenly couldn't avoid it on television either. Not only did he host the TNT reality competition series The Hero, but he would executive produce and star in the smash hit HBO comedy drama series Ballers. In 2013, Forbes named him the top grossing actor in all of Hollywood, with his films bringing in over $1.3 billion that year. Think about that for a second. The highest grossing actor in the world. That includes Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, all of them. The guy who fought Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania less than a decade prior had beat them all. And things have only picked up since then, too. He joined the cast of The Fast and the Furious and grossed a couple more $1 billion from that, plus he starred in a Baywatch reboot and a Jumanji reboot, not to mention the 50 other movies per year that he stars in. Seriously, I don't think there's an actor in Hollywood with this type of work rate. The Rock puts out more movies than most big-name musicians put out songs. And he's got a bunch of exciting stuff coming out in the near future as well, including a DC Universe film titled Black Adam, a Disney film alongside Emily Blunt titled Jungle Cruise, and he's hinted at an unspecific project with Chris Pratt as well. Okay, so dominate football? Check. Dominate pro wrestling? Check. Dominate the movie industry? Check. Dominate television? That's another check. What is left for this guy to accomplish? There's literally no other mediums in which we as a population could possibly go to escape that big shiny head of his. Oh, wait, yes there is. There's one more thing for Dwayne Johnson to take over, and that's social media. In 2016, he decided to start his own YouTube channel, which immediately ballooned up to 4.5 million subscribers. He also runs his own Instagram account, which, as of September of this year, is the 4th most followed account in the world with over 158 million followers. There is quite literally nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. The Rock is unavoidable. He surrounds us at all times whether we realize it or not, and we have no choice in the matter. The Rock has been a mainstay in our lives for a long time now, and that doesn't appear to be changing anytime soon. He is our father, and as such, we must show him the respect that he deserves. Thank you, Dad. I mean, Dwayne. How do you guys feel about The Rock? Love him? Hate him? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Before you go, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you don't, you're a jabroni. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you smell what ScreenRant's cooking. Until next time, bye!